Dog Gadgets live.
Hey.
Oh no, I'm on.
There we go.
There we go. I got lights on. I got camera. Hey everybody, it's a Tuesday, and we're here to talk about something kind of fun and cool. We've got the new Microbit in hand, which is on the table here somewhere. There, where are you? Oh, you're over here. Probably help. There we go. We got the new Microbit. Yay! Version 2 was just announced today, and we were lucky enough to get ourselves a sample of this in a few days ago to play around with and make sure it works with our Crazy Circuits bit board. But this is a really cool little upgrade to the existing Microbit because it's been about 5 years since they did the initial release, and this is the first major update to it that's happened. And from my understanding, the price point's going to remain the same, that $15, $16 price point for one of these guys. But there's more features on here and much better overall things. It's a solid upgrade. So we're going to go over some of the new features on this guy, show off a couple different activities we put together, and Pete to my right is going to show off some of the little coding we've done and talk about our first impressions of those new features on here. Also, don't forget, we have our Kickstarter campaign going on right now for our Crazy Circuits bit board, which is our Lego compatible Microbit adapter, which works perfectly fine with the version 2 here. Actually, pretty much every accessory is going to work just fine with the new version of Microbit. But yeah, this is on Kickstarter right now for the next 9 days, I want to say. Yeah, 9 days. So grab one now, because we can finally say this now. We're, of course, giving everybody a version 2 Microbit with their Kickstarter pledges for the pledges that get a Microbit. We just couldn't say anything until it was officially released today. But yeah, we're perfectly fine and happy to share this little guy. If you have any questions or comments, please throw them up into social media chat boxes and we'll throw them up on screen. You can find this guy Bitboard on Kickstarter and on our website and start shipping in November. But let's talk about this new Microbit version 2. So Pete, let's go to our overhead camera. Put me a little Josh in the corner over here. So here we go. So we got version 1, version 2, and I've got an Adafruit clue here as well for good measure. And apologies, our usual live streaming studio is literally being torn down on the other end of this hallway. We are literally live streaming in a hallway for the next several days until our new studio and space gets finished over there. So we're lucky that they're done working for the day, so it's not going to be loud and noisy. We're literally building a room and space. So let's talk about these boards. So first and foremost, this is version 1.5. This is the one everyone's been having for years. We've got like a dozen of these around our office. So the original Microbit was put out in 2015 by the BBC with the conjunction with their education ministry, I believe, to basically give these to a ton of, a million kids across the UK, just a ton of kids. Same thing happened in Canada, Australia, New Zealand, basically all the British Commonwealth countries that are part of the BBC hookup, got these little guys. And they're just great. The main purpose of this is the big thing. The main purpose of this is to have kids, especially younger kids, we're talking 10 years old at a base level, program using a drag and drop interface. They have the Microsoft MakeCode, which is a great drag and drop interface for this. So that's the intended use case. So because of that, there's not a whole lot fancy feature-wise, especially 5 years ago. You've got a couple push buttons on the front. You've got your LED matrix. You've got these big holes on the bottom that are meant to work with alligator clips. So you can just clip onto these guys for doing stuff. And you've got a few sensors on here as well. You've got Bluetooth built in, which is kind of cool, especially 5 years ago. You've got an accelerometer, a compass, a light detector through the LEDs, and a temperature sensor via the processor. It's actually built into the processor, a little temperature sensor. So you've got a couple extra little sensors on there. And really, it's nothing fancy. It is meant to be super sturdy with the built-in buttons. You can do games and just do programming on the board itself. Yay. And for that $15 price point, that's not bad as things go. I mean, we're not talking a $4 Arduino Nano off a eBay or a Chinese website, but this is great for a classroom just for the ease of use, especially with that Microsoft MakeCode as a drag and drop interface. Very simple, very easy. We're talking simple in, simple out. But also the nice part is too, because it does have a fairly modern processor on it, you can actually run all sorts of sensors and servos, which is what we do, especially in our Kickstarter campaign, and why everyone started making these breakout boards. So us and everybody else has done some variation of breakout boards for Microbit where they broke out all those other pins, all these little guys along the bottom here, are actually all the different 20 or so pins on here, and we can break them out to this area or do pin headers or hook up to relays. So you get a lot of expandability for a few bucks more for something like this. But people have complained for quite a while that, it's kind of aging and whatnot. Being 5 years is a long time in the world of especially small microcontrollers when everything and everybody's coming out with gigantic, crazy stuff, Adafruit. But this is the new one. This is version 2. And Pete, why don't you throw up you have that spec sheet. Pete has the official spec sheet. Here's the official spec sheet. There it is. So we're going to talk about this. So the couple big things behind the scene is that they've upgraded the processor to a better processor, which most people won't care about because we're all doing simple things. Press button, LED blinks. That is what probably the most common thing a kid does with this. Or make a piezo speaker do a little do sound effect. It's got more flash memory on it, more RAM, which, yay, great if you want to do some higher end stuff. But the cool things they've done on this, I'll bring this down here at the bottom of the screen, they have added on a few more parts and stuff to it. So first and foremost, oh, thanks, Pete. We've got a microphone sensor in here, a little simple microphone sensor, and a piezo speaker on board. Because the number one thing I think that all these breakout boards put on there is a piezo speaker, because that's a great little add-on. But you always have to, attach it somehow. Even us, like right here to the side, I have a little Crazy Circus piezo speaker, which we've been using for projects. They built one onto the back here. It's actually the largest part on the back is this fairly robust surface mount piezo speaker. That's rather handy. And we're going to show that off here. It actually does have pretty good sound on there. The microphone does a pretty good job, too, of sensing just highs and lows of sound. We're still kicking around ideas. I've seen a few projects, but I'm sure that the capabilities of this will be stress test to the limits as people really kind of dig into it. But the really cool thing that I like is there's capacitive touch is now built into pins 0, 1, and 2 on here, as well as the logo is now a capacitive touch point. So you actually get another button up front. Get your left and right button here, and then that's a capacitive touch point. The old Microbit didn't really have capacitive touch. Pete?
It had resistive touch.
But
you could kind of cheat it with analog input on 3 of the pins. Sort of.
So Pete actually kind of hacked,
Yeah.
a very basic capacitive touch for it. So that worked pretty well. Just basic touch, something happens. This is true capacitive touch because of the better processor on board. Now, you look on this list, there's a bunch of things. Bluetooth 5.0 versus 4.0. Yay. I think one of the more interesting thing is that they've actually increased the amount of power that can go through these pins. So instead of 90 milliamps, it's 200 milliamps, which means you can easily light more LEDs, and more importantly, you can control bigger, better servos and other accessories off there. I mean, that's one of the things, again, all these little adapters that us and everybody else has done is have external power to power things like 7-segment displays or especially servos. Servos take a lot of energy to run. So that's kind of nice to be able to shove extra power through here, but into the USB port. One thing I'm surprised, Pete, they did not go with USB-C on this.
I don't know.
Micro USB.
They're not Apple. I mean,
I guess everyone has was micro USB these days still. I mean, whatever. I'm sure someone will complain heavily about that on some online forums. I've already watched
you
it.
have an option. Do you always get a USB cable with it, or is that
no?
An option, right?
So there's an option. If you go to Amazon right now and find the current Microbit, you get the board just by itself, nothing else. And there's one that comes with a battery holder, like a 2 AAA battery holder, or it's a AA, with a JST connector on there, and the world's shortest micro USB cable. This thing is about 4 inches in length.
It's like 70 millimeters, I think.
It is super small, which
sure.
Most people's USB ports are kind of usually behind their computer. It's kind of funny. It's a very small one but anyway, it's a micro USB. Then can you miss anything on here, Pete? Oh, it's a matte finish on here as opposed to a glossy finish. Nice. Ooh, but otherwise, if you were just glancing, you probably could not tell the difference, except for the mouse bites on the bottom. Pete, drop that graphic out of the way.
I'm gonna drop it.
Drop it like it's hot. So, I'm trying to stay in focus here. So there's little notches on the end here, which we're told the purpose to do that is so that you can more easily alligator clip in, which has been a major source of issues for teachers trying to have kids. Alligator clip in from the side is not always the easiest thing to do. So ta-da, now you've got a nice little alligator clip spot on there that you can also easily grab. Yay. I mean, that's one of the things we tried. It's one of the advantages we had with ours. It's just hey, just alligator clip into this guy. You're good. Thanks, Microbit. You've stolen our thunder of our big Lego holes. Oh no, nobody will buy our
If you're
Kickstarter.
doing like conductive thread, it's really sort of wrap it around with the
Yep.
notch.
Conductive thread, if you want to go that crazy route. We recommend Maker Tape, our nylon conductive tape, as opposed to conductive thread. Nothing wrong with conductive thread if you know what you're doing when it comes to sewing. Otherwise, you're going to go crazy trying to sew a project. I always joke with teachers when you do a conductive sewing project with a group of kids who have no background in sewing, you're not teaching electronics, you're teaching basic sewing skills with the added difficulty of also trying to work in electronics because sewing's a skill. And even my Boy Scout merit badge skills in sewing just don't always do it when it comes to conductive sewing. Wah, 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 wah. Is that sad trombone, Pete? I just know what sound effects he's doing over there.
I also did rim shot it, in there.
Did it doing shh. But so that's the big look on here. Again, on the back side, it is quite different in their layout of just the actual surface mount components on here. There's some good shots on their website if you want to look. Yeah. I mean, the processor has moved. There's bigger, shinier parts on there. Ooh, the big thing is the piezo speaker, but all the other stuff is in the same location. Now, in general, all of the accessories out there, be it from us, from SparkFun, from some random Chinese website where you find tons and tons of Microbit breakout boards, they're all going to work just fine with the new version because even the piezo speaker being big is not large, even taller than the other components here. It's about the same height as, I mean the same height as the push button. So the only thing that's going to be a big issue is some of the cases, some of the cases out there. Yeah, because cases might have a different background molding to them, the way they work. And I think there's a couple, I won't say names. There's a couple boards for Microbit that are already fairly, they come in from the side. We do a top load, your SNES approach, versus the NES, US NES at least, approach, side mount, a VCR approach, that where they're pretty tight to begin with. So hopefully it still works fine. But I mean, it's a weirdly tight fit to get it in there. But that piezo speaker actually is worth doing. So in general, it's a nice upgrade. They're going to become available in mid-November, I believe, for sale. But it's good. All the pin layout's the same. Everything should be the same. I think the only thing they did change on the layout-wise is some of these little individual pins down here are now hooked up to different LED rows is the big one. Okay. Yeah. So the wonderful diagram we actually made up a while back might be wrong. We have things labeled like, which pin does this thing?
Right.
Well, some of these, that might be wrong for some of them. So I'm losing my brain here. So there we go. So it's a solid upgrade with the microphone, the capacitive touch, and the piezo speaker on there, plus extra power output. And I'm guessing it's probably the same $15 price point. I'm guessing the price is going to stay the same on it. But we're going to also then compare this to something else down the line here, because we've also were nice enough to get early on an Adafruit Clue, which is in the same form factor. I jokingly call this the Microbit's larger, more successful doctor brother. It's the one your parents always compare you to, like, well, Jason there, he went to medical school. You're still working on those drawings in your basement, aren't you? I know, feel bad.
I work on drawings here.
He does do drawings here. So with the addition of these extra things, compared to the Clue now, we're kind of getting a little closer on this. So the Clue is like a much more robust board. It uses Adafruit Circuit Python to do stuff with. It has this really gorgeous color screen on it, which is the big thing that separates it from the Microbit, is that color screen. Yeah. Now, it also has light, gesture, and proximity sensors built in up here, like actual dedicated ones, whereas the Microbit uses the LEDs to sense light. A little trick people do ages ago is using LEDs to sense light in a circuit. So that works okay. It's not going to be anywhere near as accurate as these, but it's something. And what else on here? There's a piezo speaker on this guy, same as here. This does have wireless on it, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, as opposed to just Bluetooth. And
I think they have a voltage regulator maybe too.
Yeah, I think they do. You're totally right. Yeah. Now this has an accelerometer on it, the Microbit, and a magnometer compass. But this actually has a gyroscope on it. So you get way more accurate acceleration and like data from that guy. What else? Pressure and a dedicated pressure and humidity sensor on here versus just taking the temperature of the CPU as the ambient room temperature. So you get a lot more accurate information on here, and humidity. Let's not forget humidity. And I'm guessing a better microphone sensor. Where's that? Oh, yeah, I can actually see. You got the little microphone guy right here, little microphone guy right there. You can actually see where they line up to the holes. But in general, they're kind of getting a little closer in comparison. But this still is like my first programming board kind of setup because everything is pretty simple. It's pretty inexpensive versus the Clue, which is much more expensive. There's also a NeoPixel on here too on the back. First, this guy just has a power on LED. But it's the real big thing is that screen is going to really separate it apart from everybody. And the price being, I think this is $40.
Yeah.
I want to say $40 versus $15. Yeah. So when you're supplying a classroom of kids with stuff, this is one you want to go for. And again, there's two very different use case scenarios. This is really meant for your more adult, advanced users. People have kind of gotten their feet wet already in the coding world, whereas this is, I keep joking, it's a 10-year-old wanting to make an LED blink. This is what you want to have. But the nice thing about the Clue is that it does plug into all the Microbit accessories because it has the same form factor. So we could use any of these guys, and like our Bitboard on Kickstarter right now. We are 759% past our goal, or above our goal. So we have definitely met that goal. Legos.
There's their applause.
Yay. But yeah, so it is a solid upgrade. It's nice having. And it really is. The Clue is great, but it's probably overkill for most people. I would say, right, Pete?
I mean, a friend of mine who's a Python developer is like, yeah, I'm excited about this, because it does have CircuitPython there, and you can certainly run MicroPython stuff on the Microbit. You just need to flash a different firmware on, which I did today for the heck of it. Fairly, if you write code, fairly easy. Might be a little beyond sort of 10-year-old students to do that, but that's why we got the drag and drop make code interface for them.
And that is really handy. For instance, we used our Bitboard. By we, I meant me. I don't do a ton of the programming. Pete does all of it. I hooked up one of the original Microbits to our Bitboard, plugged in a 7-segment display to here and a distance sensor, and within 2 minutes I was able to get the 7-segment display to show the distance from there. Just drag and drop, super straightforward, super easy to do versus say writing out code. And it's that kind of stuff right there that really gets people to it. Or having temperature show up on that 7-segment display, or the accelerometer data showing up on there. It's really, 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 really easy. Plug, 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 drag, drag, drag. I mean, it's a 2-minute operation versus say trying to code something from scratch. And to say it's something you could teach most people how to do fairly easily and quickly. It's fairly intuitive too, how it all goes together. And coding is just, that's another layer of mental block to get past for a lot of people. I know, especially with teachers. You show a teacher who's never done coding before, like, hey, we're going to write code. Instant hard no from a lot of people because it's a new big thing to learn with a scary learning curve for a lot of people. And I totally understand that.
Yep.
Microbit is super, super, super user-friendly. From the look and feel of it, it doesn't look like a programming board. It looks like a toy. It's got built-in buttons and a cute little screen. You turn it on, it does a little fun animation of stuff. So that kind of stuff really helps sell it, and then the drag and drop interface really brings it forward to teachers and students who might not be able to do it otherwise. It is that Trojan horse programming approach, which is why I find it funny. I was reading a lot of Microbit Facebook groups today. The number of people complaining about the lack of like, they didn't put Wi-Fi on this. They didn't do this, and this. I'm like, I want to make an IoT device out of it. I was just like, then spend $5 to buy an IoT board. Go to Adafruit, buy a Feather. Those are great boards from Adafruit. Go do that. Don't try to make a cupcake a hamburger. Because it's not going to work. No matter what you do, a cupcake will never be a hamburger. Go buy a hamburger.
And so, Josh, even like the LED matrix there, I mean, it's super simple.
It is.
In the code to either draw a little image by clicking on pixels or display a number or a scrolling word on there, which, with your Arduino or something, there's a hurdle. You got to build the matrix or whatever, or get a display and get that hooked up and find a library. It's all built in and really easy.
Yeah, and this just makes way more sense to do it this way for younger audiences. Yeah, the $15 price point is, someone joked today, more expensive than a Raspberry Pi Zero. But then again, Raspberry Pi Zeros it's a full computer in a box, but you have to have the knowledge and the effort to...
Josh, it isn't a full computer. You need to bring along a power supply and an adapter for HDMI, an adapter for USB to plug in a keyboard and mouse that you have, and also get a monitor and an SD card. So it's the brain of a computer, but you need all the other stuff in the body.
And let's be honest, most people just make a video game system out of it. That's what I did. Like, oh, I'm going to do fun things with this. Either we have used Raspberry Pis for two things in our office: remote controlling a 3D printer because we could. It's sitting right next to the computer anyway, in case the computer breaks. And two, to play Nintendo games on our conference room TV. So those are the things we use. Oh, go for it, Pete. Use your sound effects. I can't hear them. Thanks, Pete.
I do other stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, people do some good things, but it's also again a much steeper learning curve for that.
It is.
It really is. So let's get into a couple of the different projects and showing off some of these features before we just chat all day about computer stuff. So I think first and foremost, do we have that the video?
Which one?
The startup video? No, I didn't share it with you, did I?
No.
Now, actually, we're gonna just go over here to the piezo speaker.
I have the audio one that shows the speaker built-in piezo and a speaker. I mean,
let's go for that. Let's go. That we're gonna show a video clip
Would
of
you
like
like
the
to see
piezo
that?
speaker comparison we did.
all right,
Let's do that.
Try to play that. Let's unmute you if you want to talk. There we go. Okay.
There we go. So that's a comparison between the internal, or I should say the built-in piezo speaker, which is a pretty beefy speaker. One of our kind of more standard through-hole piezo speakers, which a lot of people use.
Yeah.
And then this like little 8 ohm speaker. Oh no!
It was already broken.
That looks already broken. Whatever.
Yeah, Josh. The fun thing there was, I did the external piezo, and it sounds okay. The audio always comes out on pin 0 on the Microbit, so connected to that. And then I tried the larger speaker, and it actually sounds a little better, I think, with the large speaker. Not as tinny, you get a little more bass, obviously. But the built-in speaker, the piezo, it's very loud. It's loud.
Like we're very surprised by the amount of output it has. But those are some pretty nice piezos. Ages ago, when we were sourcing piezos for our Crazy Circuits parts, we looked at doing a surface mount version, and they're actually was more expensive than these guys are. At least at the numbers we were looking at, not doing 50,000 at a time, and I'm guessing Microbit is doing like 1 million of these at a time.
Yeah.
But that's a nice and beefy.
That's our toggle. When you boot up, that'll choose either the built-in or the external.
Oh, Pete really when he does a demo, Pete really does a demo. So it toggles between internal and external. So as you saw with the code that Pete threw up on screen during that video, you actually have to tell it. You can tell it if you want the internal speaker, built-in speaker to be used or not, which is a really handy little bit of code there to throw on there. So if you want to bypass it and go to an external, say we're doing a Lego project and we want to have like a thing on one side of the board, or a big Lego project on this side, do a sound effect, but not like it's far away from the Microbit. Or you're making a bat that vibrates and makes sounds. You want to hide your Microbit away from that. And so you can just say, hey, use an external instead of the internal or built in. And of course, this little 8 ohm speaker, which clearly has the poor cardboard, whatever. But it sounds pretty good. So actually, I'm going to turn this back on again.
Try that. Threw in a tone generator using one of our potentiometers. So.
Where will you be when the beat drops, Pete?
Oh, wow. Right here.
The beats have not dropped. So that's fairly loud. So I'm going to turn that off and use our little... Here.
I can tell the difference.
Yeah. I can tell the difference using our piezo. So this is definitely louder than our piezo speaker is.
Yeah.
Depending on your classroom, that's a good thing or a bad thing. Back when I used to do some sound projects with not these, but another one that's very similar to this. I still have a bunch in the warehouse. I would have a limiting, like a volume resistor we'd build into the project so that our 555 timers were not killing my brain after an hour of kids making them.
Andy and I have talked. Yeah, we've all done a class with kids. It's like, hey, we're going to do sound now. And then you've got 10 or 12 or 15 kids all doing sounds at once. You're like, what was I thinking?
Well, unless you built in, like, you can even put a potentiometer for sound. Like, when we did it, at first I did like, okay, we'll have one potentiometer for like volume and one potentiometer for tone, which is yay. Except, of course, they're kids, so it's going to be turned up all the way no matter what you do. So the next time I did the project, I just said, like, okay, here's the resistor we're going to be using in this part of the circuit without telling them that's the volume resistor. And just like, nope, this will drop it down to a manageable level because enough high-pitched tones coming from a 555 timer circuit are going to drive you bonkers. So the sound out of here is really, 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 really nice. The downside is it is loud. And I can only
adjust the volume in code. I didn't mention that part, but you can set it. So totally adjustable.
So that's to say, that's like probably the most... probably user requested thing to have on the Microbit is a built-in piezo speaker, because I can guarantee like pretty much every little board that is out there has a built-in piezo. I went back and looked. We have a little box full of other companies' Microbit boards just for testing and playing around with on our own. They all have a piezo speaker built in. We didn't go with ours because one, we wanted kids to wire them up. We already have a bunch of piezo speakers, and two, we kind of knew this was coming down the pipeline. So we're like, we're not going to do that. They're going to come on there, or we're going to use one of these guys because, yay. But it works just fine for piezo speakering, and yeah, it's definitely worth doing. Actually, let's see, compared to this guy. So this is a better sound quality.
Yeah.
But it's a softer amount of sound.
Yeah.
Of course, being a real speaker. A real speaker with a cardboard and a magnet, permanent magnet on
probably
it.
40 years old.
I don't know. Did you get it from American Science and Surplus?
No, I pulled it out of like an old computer or something.
Oh, really?
I don't even know. Probably radio or something.
Yeah, I had a box full of these, almost exact same thing, from American Science and Surplus here in Milwaukee, and also online, americansci.com. If you want to buy like Korean body armor, they had that at one point.
Or Halloween decorations.
It's a great place for Halloween stuff. If you're Milwaukee or Chicago, there's one in Chicago too, and their website is just so much weird stuff. Seriously, Korean riot gear was.
Josh, if you're in Minneapolis area, Axeman, highly recommended.
Oh, Axeman.
And if you're down in Orlando, Skycraft Surplus.
Ooh, see,
So
Pete knows all the cool places to get
Been
your
to all of
surplus. Pete likes to scrounge.
Yeah.
So yeah, this little dude here. So this week we're going to try to do a little bit of streaming every day about some of the different features. Today, sound was easy to do. We only have one of these boards, so we're going to do like one project at a time and kind of talk about the use case. Tomorrow we're going to go over the microphone aspect of it, and then Thursday go over the capacitive touch feature, which is really, really, really cool to use, especially when you're using it with MakerTape to break out the capacitive touch either directly from here or say using the Bitboard. By the way, Bitboard is on Kickstarter right now, not to hawk it too much. Save up to 40%, or you go to our website. You can also get it from there too. Taking purchase orders from schools for the pre-order. We are well past our Kickstarter goal. Our boards will be available middle to end of November, same time as this guy. So everyone's getting this, unless they specifically ask they want the old version. It runs the same code, one way or the other. It'll run the same code. There's like.
Good point there. So Josh, you remember what universal binaries were on the Mac platform?
Oh, yeah, and now we got Rosetta 2.
Well, so these universal hex files. So basically, when you generate the code, it'll work on the old version, new version. I think the only issue is like if you are trying to use features on the new one. If you do have saved text files from previous versions, you do have to, I think, just reload it and export it again just to make sure it's universal. But
it's really simple. And so Microsoft MakeCode has a testing ground area, like a beta version of there, which I don't think has all the features implemented yet. They're close.
Yeah.
We had one thing not work for us. Servos weren't working, but apparently it's a known issue. But that's they'll get fixed the next month or so. Oh, it is really nice, Andrew. Like it is solid. Like it's surprising how darn loud this little guy is. Now the weird thing is too, you look at the Adafruit Clue one, it's about 4 times the size of the one on the Clue. That's the thing. The Clue has a nice little tiny compact one right here. and this has this big chunker. Like it really is like a fourth the size on the Clue.
Yeah.
So yeah, you should try out to see how loud it is on the Clue. No, I think the Clue has a wide variety of features.
Yeah.
But no, it's gonna be fun to see what people do with this because Microbit has on their website a bunch of nice little examples of things, especially using the microphone. I was on one earlier, Pete. I want to show you. It's like sound reactive, and we're actually trying to do like a basic VU meter, where sound reactive to music on here. But we're doing like a super simple version where it's just taking like loud beats. We'll show that off tomorrow. But there are some other. Clearly, these people are going to come up with much better ways of using than we have. Much greater use. I'm sure someone's going to look up this part number and really like delve into the capabilities of this part number.
Yeah, and right now, I mean, I think the code they have for it is pretty basic. You can read the sound level, and it'll give you a numerical value, or you can set a quiet or loud threshold, and then look for that.
So we've been joking the easiest thing to do with this is to make this into like a security alarm feature. Like if you want to make like a home security system, like for a kid, you could really do that really easily because you've got yourself a sound sensor. You've got capacitive touch, you could say hooked to a doorknob. So if something touches the doorknob, it'll set it off. You've got a sound sensor. You've got a light sensor on board.
Yeah.
Or you could put on, could have set up with the accelerometer where like the microbit itself is like will drop if something weird happens. And you've got a built-in piezo speaker and LEDs to do like do like alarms. So you could really go all out with a really nice little like kid alarm system, like Home Alone-esque. Macaulay Culkin, eat your heart out. But it'd be really kind of fun to do that because it has all these little things on it. Now hook up a distance sensor, you've got yourself a real alarm system that you'd pay $80 a month for. Going off what alarm systems tend to go for. Yep. Looking at you, Cameron, in our hallway.
Wow.
But yeah, it's a cool system. Have any questions, let us know. We'll be documenting some new projects now that we can actually talk about it. We are under an embargo because of the NDA until today. So that we can, we're going to post some projects using some of those new features on there just as really basic how-tos, along with the other stuff we're doing with documentation. But definitely worth checking out. And if you're a big Microbit fan, never hurts to have an external around, grab one of the new guys. Because I think most people are going to be just fine with the old version. If you have a bunch of these, again, we have like 8 or 9 here in our shop. You'll be just fine with the old version if you have a bunch. But if you need another one, grab the new one because, I mean, built capacitive. The little logo here being capacitive touch really kind of warms my heart because it actually is the copper right here, exposed copper. We did the same thing with our logo on our Crazy Circuit stuff with the exposed copper. But
is that where they got the idea?
Oh my gosh, they totally copied us. Microbit, why? Why have you done that? No, it's just a nice way of doing PCBs where you can get an extra layer of color. So we've got our green, white silk screen, and then the copper for like 3 tones. And they've got on here, you've got your copper, your black, and then your colored silk screen here that they're using. And not to mention white on the back. Oh man, they got all the fancies. But doing fun copper art is something people doing for a while.
That's the gold standard, really, right there.
Copper.
Gold looking.
It is. They went with the gold finish on these, which is the way you go.
Very nice.
You don't go with like the silver. Just, we have some old samples somewhere in a box of our old Crazy Circuit stuff where the samples were the silver. It just doesn't look as good. The copper gold look, it's a much better look and feel, especially for kids' projects.
You want to win the gold, not the silver.
It's true. Or the bronze. Apparently, statistically speaking, Pete, fun factoid, because I'm full of those, people who won bronze medals were happier overall than people who won silver medals. Because typically the bronze people were like the wild card. You had like the 2 people head and head, and that last person was just like, I'm just happy to be on stage. Like, I didn't expect to win kind of people. And silver's just like, I missed out by like 0.0001 seconds. But apparently people get a bronze medal like super stoked.
Cool.
Gold and bronze, it's really gold, bronze. I mean, the bronze too, like I wasn't going to be on stage, but I'm up there. Who wants a gold? Cool. What bronze? No one's going to try to mug me for it. Who wants a bunch of bronze? Gold, though. Probably just gold foil. Anyway, on that note, we're going to end the live stream. But thanks, everybody, for watching. Check out our Crazy Circuits our Kickstarter for the Crazy Circuits Bitboard. There we go. Follow us on social media. Oh, no copper foil tape. We're going to be doing live streams all week, showing this off. Us and everybody else, that's for sure. So definitely check this stuff out because the new Microbit board is the bee's knees, and we're really happy that we're we have this coming out here the same time as this guy, because this is going to be great. Once schools are back in session, everybody, and libraries, this is going to be a great thing to have the new stuff on here, especially when you pair it up with some additional hardware. Hint, hint. But anyway, so thanks. Thanks, Microbit, for sending us one of these. We appreciate getting a sample along with many, many other people. But we do appreciate being able to get one out there. If for some reason Microbit is watching, oh, Microbit, you guys are so friendly. They are. They're friendly peeps.
They're great.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for watching.
All right.
Thanks for watching. Please visit browndoggadgets.com for parts, projects, and curriculum. Follow us on social media at browndoggadgets. Check out our live streams at Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. We'll see you next time.